Human rights is a term you hear a lot nowadays, but as a business, do you know what it means to you? Here's the basics. Human rights are a set of principles that define how people should be treated. They shouldn't be abused or kicked off their land. They should have access to food and healthcare, no matter their gender or background. Every country in the world has agreed to these principles, and every person in the world is entitled to them. Most human rights can be affected by companies. When workers breathe in toxic fumes, that violates their right to health. When a manager only hires employees of his own race or religion, that violates the right to equal treatment. When businesses buy land without consulting communities, that violates their right to property. These issues are complex, and companies can't be responsible for every problem in every country. But increasingly, businesses are finding out how workers, customers, and communities are impacted by their operations, and they're taking deliberate steps to make sure those impacts are positive. So why should your company start to think this way? Why not just follow the law and leave it at that? First, let's face it, this is important to your customers and their customers. Governments around the world are passing laws requiring companies to respect human rights in their supply chains. If you don't catch up, leading companies around the world may leave you behind. Second, this is important to your workers. Some of the world's biggest companies have improved employee satisfaction and productivity by collaborating with their employees to improve conditions. In other words, respecting human rights can make your business more successful. Third, and most importantly, it's the right thing to do. National laws provide the bare minimum for companies to avoid ending up in court or the media. But laws don't require companies to build relationships with their employees or their suppliers or the people living nearby. Companies that take those steps aren't just avoiding punishment, they're building a company that will sustain in the long term. Respecting human rights in your supply chain sounds like a big and complicated task, and in some ways it is. But the goal isn't having a perfect record on human rights overnight. The goal is to open up communication channels, to understand your human rights impacts, and to develop systems to manage them. Here's a few first steps. Know your workers. This doesn't have to be sophisticated. For some companies, it will begin with a comment box near the exit. The important thing is to ask your workers about their conditions and hear suggestions for improving them. Know your suppliers. Have you discussed working conditions or environmental impacts with the companies you buy from? When you visit suppliers to check quality or efficiency, include criteria like working hours and protective equipment. Know your human rights impacts. If you employ a lot of low-skilled workers, your greatest impact may be in your salary policies or contracts. If you ship products all over the country, your impact may be in the working hours for your truck drivers. If your company uses lots of water, you may be raising prices for the people living nearby. Once you know your impacts, you should be prepared to communicate them. Taking action on human rights doesn't mean changing everything about your business. In the short term, focus on quick wins to improve your workplace. In the longer term, work with other companies in your sector or region to improve conditions in your supply chain. Many of your own customers will be eager to help you take the first steps. Plus, there are dozens of standards, tools, networks, and civil society organizations ready to support you. So why not start now?